history geeks, when we think of New Orleans, we can't help but think of the Battle of New Orleans, pirates, and a lot of blah 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 from way back when. But we don't think too much about World War II. Well, maybe we should, because there is a massive and ultra cool World War II museum just a hop and a skip off the French Quarter.
So here I am at the National World War II Museum. You kind of see it with the trees in the way. Really nice, big museum. I spent like 4 hours in there. Kind of odd maybe having a World War II museum in New Orleans. When you think of New Orleans, you think of the War of 1812 when we fought the bloody British down in the Battle of New Orleans or something like that. Of course, here the bloody British are our fine allies, and we're fighting the bloody Germans, and our allies are also the Russians. Now, the British are still our allies. The Germans are our allies. The Russians, well, maybe not so much. Oh, so confusing.
Now, I thought a Monday in November might be a slow day for the museum. But just like the British at the Battle of New Orleans, I thought wrong. The place was packed. Now, we enter the museum by way of train. Well, simulated train, but you work with what you got. Now, this was really cool, though, because it gave me the feeling of what my dad might have felt when he joined the Navy and headed off to the West Coast to join the war. By train. And then we get these fake dog tags of a real soldier who served in the war. And we follow him throughout the war as we go through the museum. Now, my guy was a Japanese American. So I automatically developed a sincere sympathy for him. Not only was the kid going off to war, but I'm just guessing that the poor guy had some social issues to deal with during that war as well. Now, with my tight schedule, I gave myself a mere 2 or 3 hours to wander through the museum. But I could have spent 2 or 3 days there. Okay, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. So much to see, so much to learn, so much to just let your history geek imagination go wild. Pearl Harbor, D-Day, POW camps, Nazi concentration camps, Guam, North Africa, Europe. This place tells all, with tons of interviews from those who fought the good fight to victory, and enough weapons to make even the novice gun nuts salivate. And then there are the planes. They're just hanging around everywhere. And for those who aren't afraid of heights, take the elevator up to the skywalk. Looking down from the skywalk, you get the feeling that you're up in the skies with these historical gems.
Here I am at the World War II Museum in New Orleans, checking out the planes. Can you imagine flying one of those? Can imagine being back here, shooting one of those. And up here is my favorite World War II craft, the B-17 bomber. It's okay to say I have a favorite bomber or airplane. I made a model of one of these back when I was a junior high kid. Come to think of it, I think I made one of that too. And maybe that one. Don't remember doing one of this. But that's a B-17, and I think I can go up to that other catwalk and I can look down on upon it. Cool. B-17 Flying Fortress. I made a model of one of these back in junior high. Mine was silver. It looks so much bigger in person. Taking a little afternoon river cruise.
As cool as the World War II museum was, I still hadn't gotten my history geek fix for the day. So I hoofed it on down to the riverfront to hop aboard the other river paddle boat docked on the mighty Mississippi. This afternoon river ride didn't come with a jazz band, but it did come with a history professor who gave us all the lowdown on the history of the city and the river. She even talked a bit about the river traffic floating up and down the Big Muddy. We even floated by a sugar refinery. To tell you the truth, it looked like a place where a gangster war might just break out at any given moment. Of course, my history geek meter went to 11 when the boat docked and let us all wander out on the site of the Chalamet battlefield. Now what's that? Well, have you ever heard of the famous Battle of New Orleans?
Okay, check this out. Looks like a pasture of grass, right? Actually, this is where the famous Battle of New Orleans took place. Andrew Jackson fought the bloody British in the town of New Orleans. Actually, New Orleans is on down the river. This is where the battle actually took place. And according to the ranger here, this tree saw it all. That is a huge tree. I think I would have been standing behind it. So that's the battlefield. Pretty cool. I better go catch my boat. It's over that way somewhere, I think.
Okay, it looks like a pasture of tall grass, but that's when you've got to let your history imagination just kick in. Oh, imagine British soldiers in their bright red uniforms running across that field, muskets firing, cannons blasting, General Andrew Jackson barking out commands, along with the pirate Jean Lafitte and his band of buccaneers joining in the heat of the battle. Or you can just say, wow, that's a lot of grass and weeds. Now the huge live oak tree looked really cool though.
And here we have New Orleans from the Mississippi River. Pretty scene.
Wandering back into the French Quarter, I actually got to eat some authentic gumbo in an authentic French Quarter New Orleans restaurant, the Napoleon House. By now, the beer stands had gone back to Chicago, so this might have been the only actual restaurant I got to eat in.
Napoleon's here in the French Quarter. Quaint little place. Had some gumbo here, and I'm waiting for some bread pudding. And there's Napoleon. How fitting.
I needed that gumbo power because I had another haunted tour. Now my paranormal ghost tour had been canceled due to the fact that I was the only one who had signed up for it. So I found a tour that I just could not resist. And this was the Bad Bitches Tour. Okay now, that sounds like some kind of a hip-hop tour. But as the name might imply, this haunted tour dove into the sinister tales of some of the ladies who made New Orleans so very New Orleans. Now our guide was some guy named Christian, like the religion. He mentioned a few times, and I had to compliment the man's attire. He had dressed for the occasion, or he had dressed like he was going to some, I don't know, gothic ball. Or perhaps a 1980s hairband convention. This old thing? He answered. You should see how my girlfriend dresses. She thinks she's a vampire. Okay, such made me wonder if that lady might show up on the tour herself. Now, Christian gave us a little more insight on the teenage vampires and the crazy socialite, Delphine Leloria, while checking out a place used in the movie Interview with Vampire. But the coolest sight that Christian pointed out was an old house of ill repute, which could have very possibly been the inspiration behind the song House of the Rising Sun. Now, I might have been the only person on that tour who was old enough to know that classic song. But apparently, back in the day, when you visited this house, you treated the ladies well, or you just might wind up buried in the backyard, and you'll never see another rising sun. Now, the tour finally ended up on the dark street in front of the house that belonged to the famed voodoo priestess, Maria Laveau. The house wasn't all that creepy looking, but our guide did have some tales to tell. Apparently, during the tour, some dude walked past the house while heckling our guide. And during this verbal abuse, the guy fell flat on his face for no apparent reason. I guess you don't go heckling the haunted tour guide in front of a voodoo priestess house. Now that's good to know.
So here we have Bourbon Street on a Monday night. Still a lot going on, but nothing like the Saturday and Friday. Kind of an older crowd. At least I can walk down the street